Hi, thanks for joining me today. Do you find that you're suddenly dropped like a stone or made second best or not unprioritised the moment your stepchildren have a need or a want and your partner steps up and steps you down? Subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, and I'll let you know every time I post. Are you in a situation where you may have something planned for the weekend or for a particular time with your partner, your family, and everything is set, and then suddenly everything changes because a stepchild needs something, wants something, or arrangements change somewhere else in your step family, and suddenly you are not the master of your own destiny at all, and at any moment, any time, somebody or other people can take priority over you, plans changed, everything that you had planned gets shelved while some other priority takes over. People outside a step family can very, very rarely understand the total distress that you can feel as a result of always just being there in the wings, waiting to be let down, or something somewhere can always take priority over you. And people from the outside can say, what's your problem? You knew you were married to somebody with a child, and if the child has a need or a want or something that means that they need to be prioritized, what's your problem? Because after all, they are only a child and their needs come first, right? So there can be very little sympathy for what's going on here. And secondly, when you're living in this world where at any moment you and what you want to do can be sort of bumped down to second place or cancelled, is really undermining and extremely distressing. But what can you do about this as a step-parent in this situation? Because your partner may easily, always prioritise their children over you. When you are a step-parent, you do not have the genetic connection to your stepchild. Parents can, because they're genetically connected to their child, often diminish their own priorities in favour of their child. But when you're the step-parent, this just doesn't happen and isn't the case. So what can be done about this kind of situation? The first question I don't know the answer to is, how old are your stepchildren? Because as the children grow and they become more independent, then them taking total priority over anything else, as time goes on and they grow, diminishes. They don't need instant attention when they're older. They need 24-hour care when they're not old enough to look after themselves yet. But as time goes on, the need for them to be prioritised decreases. And if your partner is dropping everything to prioritise them and they're in their mid-20s, then there's something not quite right about the life cycle stages where children are young and need 100% care to begin with, but then when they are adults themselves, they don't need that at all. So sometimes there's a disconnect between how often a parent is doing that and the age appropriateness of the children that they're doing it for. The second thing about the life cycle point, therefore, is that this need for the children to be prioritised diminishes, and therefore, the longer you are a step parent or in the step family, the more this issue should diminish. And worst case scenario, you're probably looking at sort of 15, 16 years if you'll really enter into the step parenting situation on the birth of the child. But generally speaking, you're looking at a period of time where you might need to let the children be prioritised over you at some times. And that need to step down gets less. So have a little look at how many more years this might be before the thing changes. And gradually, over the years, things should change. This could possibly be seen as a sort of two-pronged problem. The problem may be your partner who really prioritises their children at every eventuality, all of the time, incessantly. And this is something that, as time goes on, should gradually change, but isn't. So there's the one prong of the problem where it's your partner who is overly involved, overly enmeshed. They jump the moment their child has any need at all. And the solving of that prong of the problem is letting your partner take the full brunt of being over-enabling, over-supportive, when they've got a relationship where it's just, your partner jumps the moment your stepchild needs or wants anything, then that is almost unsustainable. So it's important you keep out of the way and let your partner take the full brunt of their parenting decisions. And if they're going to go and rescue their child and not teach their child independence and not enable their children to become fully grown, independent adults in their own right, then you need to keep out of it, because they need to have the brunt of that experience, because as children grow, that gets more and more exhausting, and the children get more and more demanding, and the child isn't encouraged to be independent. Your partner is doing more and more for them, and the demands just never decrease. You've got to wait until that reaches a kind of state of unsustainability, and your partner throws up their hands and says, I can't do this anymore. And at that moment, they have learnt that their approach to enabled parenting isn't working. It takes tolerance to do that. But if you get involved in that and start giving your partner advice about how they're over-involved, they won't want to hear it. They'll just think that you're feeling negative about their child and become even more defensive and protective and do even more for their child. So you're better off stepping back and letting the parent learn their lesson, if you like. And the second prong of the problem is with you, which is good, because when problems are with you, you can take responsibility for that and change your behaviour. And that is to realise that this has to go on for the time being because of the step family circumstances. Maybe the wider step family isn't that supportive, or the children need to be prioritised because they're so young. Any of these kinds of issues, it really takes you to see the bigger picture and to see forward to a time when this won't need to happen, and to look after yourself in the meanwhile. And this is really, really, really tricky, because there'll always be the invitation that you've had to say no to because of the children or something like that, and you can really begin to resent it. But it's about mind over matter and sorting your life out so that you can be happy enough to remain inside the relationship and more or less support what's going on for the time being, so you can survive until later and things will get better. Lots of step-parents tell me that if this is a real problem, living apart together can be a real solution, whereby you live in different properties and come together and meet regularly when the children aren't so much around, because it can be a really hard thing to do, to feel okay about being made second best. But when people say, I can't see what your problem is, you knew they had children from before, why can't you just manage this? I'm with you. This is really, really hard to do. And it is one of the conundrums of step-parenting. We run workshops, sessions, and email response service, and we write booklets. Look at the description below for links to our social media and website.